All right, hello everyone. Today we have a guest. His name is Ed, and
Hey,
he's been one of my best friends for a very long time now. So maybe about 9 years or so. So we really know each other. And yeah, Ed. So would you mind introducing yourself to the viewers? Maybe you can talk about your major. What's your hobbies that you do?
oh, my name is Ed. I think you all know that. Um, Technically, I'm a psych major at the UFC.
Yeah.
My hobbies technically include a vast, but I try to limit it. As
Okay.
of right now, I'm just doing art and programming,
Perfect.
game
Hmm.
development.
What
And
games are you making, Ed?
I'm just trying to get into the rough fundamentals for now. Like, for example, I did a Pong game. I did
Hmm.
a
Like a ping
plat
pong?
the
Ping pong
former,
game?
yeah, like the 2D Pong, right? The
Right,
2D
yeah. Yeah.
did that, and then I did the platformer, like a platformer game, and
Hmm.
then right, I'm just trying to do like a shooter sort of game. In
Hmm.
It's a shooter kind of game. Just trying to get into these certain things.
Wow. That sounds very awesome, Ed. Hopefully, you grow more passion into it and you start, building more complicated
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, that's the point. I'm just trying to get into the rough mechanic, just the basic small, nothing special, nothing fancy, just
Yeah,
enough for me to learn new things.
sounds good, Ed. So, Ed, can you elaborate on your experience with your psychology major? The courses that you like, or like the courses that you had difficulties with.
Oh, all most of the courses I took are pretty much the courses I like. I took developmental psychology, I took clinical psychology, I took psychology relating from infants psychology to developmental psychology.
Yeah.
That's the one, and like how they sort of develop, and then the
Yeah.
other is the adolescence, which is kind
Mm.
of work with uh,
Yeah.
psychology with preteens and teens. Now, the background behind as to why I'm engaged in those and the child and the adolescents are something I
Yeah.
don't personally like to say,
Yeah.
but it is an interesting course and got me thinking about certain things that I was already kind of thinking about before, which I'm not sure if I like. It's probably a weird mixture of like I don't like.
Okay.
Anyway.
Let like can you help me can you give me a brief introduction? Let's say, what is a developmental psychology?
Well, first, developmental psychology is basically you're just dealing with kids.
Okay.
Basically, you're just dealing with kids. Whether or not you're gonna take these courses in the future,
Okay.
probably you are. But this is a 400 level course, so you're not be able to take this on your first year for sure. However,
Okay.
also if you're planning to apply for this,
Yeah.
you have to be very early because for 400 level course, the the slots are so small that you always have like the the day the fall courses the administration are open, you have
Yeah.
to apply as quick as you can because they can fill up like really quick.
Psychology is super popular. Like, so much people are taking it, and yeah, I can I could I wanted to apply with just the one of the fundamental psychology course, and I couldn't because it's already full already.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
the
can
thing. You
see.
have to apply really quickly.
Yeah.
Basically, the 200 level courses, 300 level courses, not
Yeah.
too much of an issue. Just apply early.
Mm,
They don't really fill in too much because their slots are very big. But the moment you start getting to the 400 level courses,
mm.
their seat space is so small. You have to be very, very, very early when you pick them.
Okay.
Okay, so
That's a
basically,
good
developmental.
advice to like
Yeah.
aspiring psychology majors out there.
Okay, so you want developmental psychology. Developmental psychology. So technically, in uh, the age range for psychology is kind of split. So
Okay.
one is the developmental psychology, which you work with young infants, which
Okay.
technically is young infants and um, toddlers, and then around adolescence, which is a different course. It's technically about teens, and
Okay.
then the other one is about aging or old people. So technically, those three are kind of different,
Okay, and
right?
let's wait. Let's back up to like, let's say, so like the toddler phase.
Okay, developmental psychology. So the
Okay.
thing we have to know about developmental psychology, it's the most abstract and most complicated to understand of them all.
Okay. Why is that?
Because well, first, have you ever, when you look at your dog, right, and then you kind of do something, right? Let's say a stimulus, and the dog acts in a certain way, right? Let's say
Right.
let's say when you sleep, the dog somehow comes to you, right?
Yeah.
Like, what would your interpretation of that one be?
Like the dog when I sleep and then the dog comes to me.
Yeah, hypothetically, let's say the dog does that.
So like maybe the dog wants kind of like to like sleep as well and like security when he's sleeping, I think.
Yeah, or it could demand something else from you, like maybe it's wanting something else from you before you sleep,
Right.
or
Like
it just wants
yeah,
to lick your face. That's the thing with developmental psychology, because
there's so
a lot of
many.
the research is based on, young kids, right? And because you can't
Right.
always tap on the very young ones because they can't speak right, or they can't get your thoughts on the idea,
Okay.
you're kind of just being interpretive. So for example, let's say a um you're trying to figure out as to whether or not um, kids have developed a particular ability, right, to detect certain things, right?
Yeah.
And then how you do it is that, let's say you have like a diagram,
Yeah.
and then the way how you could do that is that if something is new,
Yeah.
your expectation, your belief is that the kid's heart starts to beat a little bit more, right?
Okay.
And that's just how you kind of interpret it. There could be different reason as to why that is, but you're kind of based on your own interpretation as to what is happening. Like, what do you think are the toddlers around that case?
Hmm.
So there's a lot of different theories. There's, our children, do they have a natural, um, do they come to the world with like as little to no knowledge, and then they just kind of build this sort of knowledge along the way, or do they kind of have this sort of ingrained sort of idea about like the world? Like, do they have like a basic understanding
Hmm.
of physics at predisposition?
What's your position in this one, Dad?
I don't know yet, Tam, because I would need to read more papers,
Right.
and it was a very abstract course.
Okay. And I totally understand that. So let's say we move on. What's the next phase after like the toddler phase, like the developmental phase?
Adolescence,
Yeah. So adolescence. So like does that mean like the teenager phase?
the preteen teenagers. The thing is that first they first you first the idea of, the distinction between childhood and adulthood is, the idea of 18 is kind of a construct. Even the idea of a preteen, that
Yeah.
kind of originated later. That was a term made up later,
Yeah.
and the adolescence was also a term kind of around in the 1900s. Is the term adolescence, those were kind of around in the 1900s. So
Okay.
it's kind of sometimes hard to have an idea as to what counts as,
Adolescence.
or adulthood. This
Okay.
is different ideas. So like, we shouldn't have a child or adulthood, and we should think about them in different terms, and so whether or not they're able to do so. But
Yeah.
one thing for sure is that although different societies have different ideas of what that is, every society has this sort of right as to what, like a rite of passageway to adulthood.
Okay.
So that could be a very big formal ceremony, let's say a quinceañera, or it could be something very small, like a small family get together with more food just for
Right.
the family. So and then you end up real and then there's like different focus about uh what would be good for their development, their self-building.
Mm.
So you learn things like their self-building, um their self-building, um hmm, sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay, so Ed, you said so with the adolescents, right? There's like you learn some things that would help them build themselves. Like, can you like explain like what are those things that would help a person, let's
Well,
say in their
basically it's
adolescence? Yeah,
basically there's this theory about this. Every adolescent has this sort of phase. Now I don't have my notes right now. It's been a while since I got into it.
it's
But
okay.
basically it's there's sort of different phases, this
Yeah.
theoretical phases that they go to. So there's the one that is basically they have a set idea as to what they are, and then they kind of do it. And then the other ones are just ambivalent, and then each of them kind of take their own trajections in it. And then there's like I have it in my notes,
It's
um
okay.
but yeah, apparently, so there's children who know who they are, and
Yeah.
they kind of have an idea of a sense of a self, and then they kind of work themselves through that. And there
Mm.
are other people who are just kind of ambivalent yet, and still just kind of exploring. The
Yeah.
other ones are just kind of agreeing with whatever their parents say, and they just kind of do it. So
Mm.
everyone is going to fluctuate around here.
Mm. Ed, do you think where would you fall into that? Do you think you're the guy who kind of know where you're going, or you're kind of the guy who kind of wanders around?
It's like a weird. I don't fit neatly in the paradigm, but I have a
Really?
sense of what I want to go.
Mm.
But at the same time, life also kind of, at the same time, I was a kid. I was like, yeah, okay, I have an idea where I want to go,
Yeah.
right? I have an
Yeah.
idea. But then, I don't know, life is like, you're kind of faced with lots of uncertainties. So sometimes there's always this ambivalence, like, are you going in the right direction?
I
And it's not to
agree.
say it's, subjective, because I mean, there's just some things you can control, like job opportunities and
Yeah.
um, careers and all that. And not all careers are built the same, and not all not all risks are built the same. So it's not to say it's completely subjective, but
Mm.
yeah.
That's good, Ed. Okay, Ed. I kind of want to change the topic for now. So, in school, I feel like you've joined like a bunch of clubs. Can you like talk about some of the clubs that you joined and why you joined them?
Oh yeah. I joined the first one I joined was the Catholic Christian Outreach, which was, to build further my faith. I also because I want to explore it a bit more. It was, I would say, a quote unquote betterment, because you go a bit more the topics than the Alpha one. So I go to that one.
Wait, what?
Um,
Can you
huh?
repeat that?
Alpha?
What do you mean alpha one?
Oh,
What is?
Alpha is like a faith group in our school
Oh,
and
okay.
in our high school. So this one was
Oh,
a more advanced one. So we go a bit
oh,
more.
okay.
So I do like that. The other one was the Japanese Culture Club,
Mm,
because I was wanting to learn several different languages.
mm,
Um, And I was like, what language would I want? Because this is around the time where I was like, I want to learn English, I want to learn Japanese, Korean, Russian, and then I want
mm.
to improve on my Filipino language. I was like, focus on one. I was like, okay, Japanese, because I watch anime. So I was like, okay, might as well, a language is good if you can put it to good use, right? If you
Mm.
learn a language just for the sake of it, you're not going to develop as much. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna
Wait, Ed,
try that.
can you say that again? I kind of zone out.
Which one?
So you said with the language, like you should like you need to have something else than just learning it. Like you have to like use it. Like what are you saying?
Yeah, yeah. It's best to learn a language it's best to learn a language when you feel like the language is something that you're actually gonna use like more often, not just like once in a while or never.
Right.
Because to learn a language for the sake of it is the hardest of them all. If you learn a
Mm,
language, you're gonna use it, or at least try to put it into a use. Let's say you go to a particular, let's say if you try to learn a language at home, you're gonna have a hard time. If you
Mm.
try to language, if you try to learn a language, let's say at school, with a formal education, you're gonna have an easier time.
Right.
But if you try to, let's say, learn a language, let's say to talk to a friend, read a book, or go to an actual country
Yeah.
and try to use trial and error and do your best, you're
Yeah,
going
that's
to
the
learn.
best way, I think.
Yeah, the best way to learn is the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like
remember
going
like
to a place is the best way, and
going to a place
interacting.
and meeting someone within that language to talk to, because
Right.
uh, although school is great and it does provide you lots of things, language is very complicated, and sometimes not everything within school is going to be provided, because um, because a language has several different dimensions to it. So some words mean differently on different contexts, right?
Yeah.
So you'll find something like that. And then sometimes being able to talk to people of that particular language kind of makes you see that um, what really is expected. For example, I went to a Japanese culture club, right?
Yeah.
And then Japan has like tons of different so there's three things about Japan. So there's kanji, there's I forgot. But I remember, but one of them was for sure kanji.
Yeah.
Kanji is it's like a bunch of different symbols meaning different things, and then you combine these symbols and they mean totally different.
Mm.
So and then I asked her like, how there's so much kanji in Japan in Japanese, and then she was like, how much kanji do you know? And he's like, oh, I only know 30. I don't know all of them. And I was like, okay, good, because no way in heck I could remember all of them. So I was
Mm.
like, okay, it's good because you don't technically have to remember all the all the symbols. You just have to know a decent chunk of maybe some common ones, but
Mm.
yeah, but see, even someone who's Japanese, you don't have to remember all of them. So
That's true.
uh, it's good to know that, like, if good to have someone who the language, because or at least
Yeah.
been acculturated in that sort of group very well, because
Yeah.
you can really, because there are just some things that are very off formal, right? I mean, you take an English language course and you talk to someone who's English, you're gonna find some gray areas, right? The school
Yeah.
is helpful, but it can only guide you as to a certain
Yeah.
extent.
It's like it's always like different, like from what you learn, and then like on the actual when interacting with other people.
Yeah, there's
Sometimes.
gonna be
Yeah.
those nitty bitty grits.
Yeah.
But the best is always with other people, because there's a different mindset that goes just trying to learn it from the book versus trying to interact.
Mm.
Very different. Um, yeah, I also think about Japanese is that the way how they put things is also very different. Like in English, it's subject, object, verb, but then the other one is they kind of are the reverse.
Yeah.
So that's also confusing.
Yeah. That's
Um, yeah,
definitely difficult.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I had to cut the language first for now,
Yeah.
because I have so much other things to do, my
Right.
hobbies and go for school and driving.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we'll deal on that one later. So what's the other? So but I still have retained some of my Nihongo.
Right.
Um,
So yeah, what other clubs did you join?
I joined the I joined I joined us in no, I've joined a bunch of clubs. I joined the Autism Awareness Club. I
Yeah.
am currently one of the junior executive.
Yeah, that's good. That's
So I
good for
would be
you, man.
engaged in planning. I would be engaged in putting up posters and such.
Yeah.
To some extent, sometimes even dealing with the social media,
Right.
promoting the club. Um, Also at the group meetings with events and such. And then also we kind of partnership with the CNE Foundation when it comes to the board games.
Okay.
And I also kind of, and technically my job is to, um, technically my job is to manage the group.
Yeah,
If there's like enough members, if there's like enough members,
yeah,
or if there's enough members, or if, and I also organize the activities about what should be planned. I work as a team with other people. It was nice. It was nice.
yeah.
I
So
also
you
have to
learn
do,
lots of ways to like manage and like have like interpersonal relationships with your
yeah.
other group mates or
I
teammates.
learned, yeah, I learned how to, promote stuff at social media.
Yeah.
I also learned how to, be engaged, like being an actual leader in like managing certain things. And if
Yeah.
someone in the, because we're doing our board games online, right? So,
What sort of games do you guys play online?
oh, usually beforehand, when I was, before like the Autism Awareness Club was kind of conjoined a bit with the CNE Foundation. I was just basically a participant for the autistic group that
Hmm.
I was working with. So what we did was basically just trivia or scribblio. But then the
Hmm.
moment we kind of got together, and then I was like, and then the moment I got, got this sort of leadership position, or
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this sort of leadership position, I get to call the shots a bit as to how like the games are to some extent. I was like, okay, let's get creative here. So
What
I
do you
was
mean
like,
by that? How did you
so
make
I
it more
mean,
creative?
because
Yeah.
usually we just did back then was just trivia and then
Right.
scribblio, and then we just did that throughout.
Hmm.
And then I would provide new ideas. So let's say, can we do a guess the song or a guess the game, or we
Hmm.
would play Gardic Phone, or and then some even requested Among Us even. So
Hmm.
Among Us or that. So more variation. Some even had Jackbox. So I
Hmm.
think it's great to have more variation. Also, yeah, adjust our, because sometimes we would have more people or less people, so we would also adjust to that.
So Ed,
Yeah.
so with the onset of COVID, so that one with the COVID, it actually forced you guys to do these activities online. Would you say that you
Yes.
had like difficulty like setting up all of these like online platforms so all of you guys could interact? Did you have like difficulty at
At
the
the beginning,
beginning?
even,
Yeah.
but overall, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
It's not so bad after a while.
Mm.
Even till then, we still get technical difficulties, like sometimes they don't. Sometimes they, we launch the game, and then one of the members is like, how do we do how
Yeah.
like where is it though, right? Like, are you
Right.
clicking the wrong link, or no
Yeah.
one's there?
Yeah.
Maybe in the wrong room, wrong server.
Right.
Maybe sometimes they can't find the chat box,
Yeah.
and then one of them was working an iPad, and I was like, I don't know what
Mm.
to do. So I had to quickly Google really quick, and
Yeah.
then I guided him throughout that process
That's
to do
awesome.
that.
So
Yeah,
Ed, so like when you have like all like this like online like meetings, is there like a person who's like responsible for like fixing any technical issues? Like, is that you who does that?
like let's say we don't have an IT, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
but
We
like,
don't have IT in
yeah,
our department where we are. So
yeah.
basic, um, I think we just kind of figure it out ourselves, right?
So you guys just try
Um,
to help each other.
yeah.
Yeah,
If one has a problem, we try to help each other. None of us are IT here, and
right.
working at Zoom isn't necessarily rocket science, so it's okay.
That's true, but it can get complicated sometimes. The
Sometimes,
Zoom, yeah.
like,
Sometimes
like
I don't know. Yeah, go
even
ahead.
like when we're working at game,
Yeah,
one keeps getting kicked out, and we don't know why. So you should be like, should we just wait
yeah,
for him? Like, for example, right? We're in the middle of the game.
yeah.
we're in the middle of the game, and then one somehow was able to, come in here, and then we should be like, oh wait, should we just close the entire game? And
Mm,
we were not plagued with choices, right? Should
right.
we just leave the person for the next game, or do we just just continue here, or do we just automatically close everything and then we just
Yeah, it's a
bring on?
hard decision. A hard
Yeah, those
decision.
are those are decisions also, is it like, for example, Gartic phone requires 4 people. Sometimes you may not have enough people, so you need to have
Right.
a backup to deal with. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that bad, but it's just pretty nice.
Yeah,
Like
that's like
it's good
it
to have that sort of
involves.
fluidity and flexibility,
Yeah.
and being able to change different things rather than having to play the same thing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it involves lots of like problem solving and like handling like maybe like a stressful situation like at the moment. Like you have to
yeah,
think on your feet basically.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's too stressful. It's okay, but
Yeah.
everyone I guess is different. For
Mhm.
me, I personally like talking to other people.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it wasn't really too much of a bad thing for me. However, the first time I did get to host, because I usually was just a person playing the group. It
Yeah.
felt like, being a leader, and then you have like this sort of responsibility and
Mm.
this sort of expectation that you don't
Right.
want to mess up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the earlier phase. Was a little bit I was a little bit nervous, but not too much. Like
Mm.
I volunteered before, right? I
Right.
volunteered with children and all that. Like sometimes I would just work with one child
Mm.
independently, and then I've worked with other children who were like, uh, I also help, conduct activities, right?
Yeah.
When I was working with those children. However, with this one, it feels like you're just very independent on your own at times.
Yeah.
Like someone will help you, but at the same time, those people are just more so just participants, and you feel like you're just the one, calling the managing.
Mm.
So that puts like a lot. They put like a lot of emphasis on, but
Mm.
eventually you get it. The other thing I like about this, because I'm in this position, I get this management, I get to develop these skills.
Yeah.
Like another thing was, because I'm a junior executive,
Yeah.
um, before COVID, right? I was also the one advertising the groups in the club week for advertising.
Yeah.
And then it's like, this is what you need to be expected. You need to do this. You need to do that. This is what we are. That's what we do. So I have to remember that. So whenever someone approaches me and they want to know about my club, I should be like, oh, okay, and trying to be able to answer their questions. They're
Mm.
like, okay, this is who we are. This is what we are. This is what we do. And then yeah. So in the beginning, I was like baby. So I was like, I took the baby route. So
Right.
someone would supervise me and assist me and whatever. And then after that, I became more independent. So
Mm. Yeah.
it's a good
You
opportunity
grow.
to build yourself.
Yeah.
Would I say it's the most grand? Well, no, but I think it's a step or a means of
It's
some
a
independence and some growth. So it's just kind of
yeah.
what I
It's
like.
a like a yeah. Like it helps you like improve. Like
Yeah,
any improvement is a good thing.
and I'll take anything really.
Yeah.
I want, yeah, any skills. So what else? The Autism Awareness Club, we get people to be more aware of
Yeah.
autism and what it's all about, and then we check, neurodiversity.
Okay,
Like
one moment. Sorry. Let's say yeah. So like I have this kind of like a problem sometimes. So like sometimes you like if you're in like a certain position, right? Also like for yourself, you have like expectations, right? And but sometimes sometimes you can't like what do you call that? Attain or like make the expectation possible. Like how do you deal with not being able to like meet your expectations?
that depends. If it's well, that depends on how far off I am from my expectations
Yeah.
and what they are, and what they are, and yeah, so basically how far I am and what they are. So
Yeah.
if it's, let's say, a Zoom thing, it's not too bad. I just kind of do a quick Google, or I just kind of, sometimes I do have issues with, like, how do I do the, how do I try to find the chat box?
Yeah.
So some of the volunteers, some of my group members would try to help me find the chat box, the Zoom.
Right.
So sometimes I ask them, or I kind of do a quick Google,
Yeah.
right? That's what I do. But if it's something like, let's say, a different skill, or
Yeah.
some different skill that's like much more learning,
Yeah.
usually I would just kind of ask, or I would just be honest and be like, sorry, but I don't know too much about this, but I'll do my best.
Mm,
And then after that, I just kind of do a lot of Googling,
mm,
just to do research so that I'd be better prepared next time. But even if something that's
mm,
very far off, let's say I'm trying to an interview, or let's say an interview, or I'm supposed to, or a ceremony, I
mm,
usually like to do my research firsthand,
mm.
right? To talk to other people or do some research online, just so that I don't come out empty-handed. And at least, and if I do have some issues,
Yeah.
I at least can solve, at least have a better idea of how I can solve it.
Okay, Ed. So like let's say you're in a scenario, let's say let's talk about school. Let's say you're aiming at a certain grade and then you achieve lesser than what you're trying to achieve. Do you feel disappointed with the results? Or
Yeah, yeah, I do.
so like
Happens
how
all
do
the
you like how do you go through the disappointment? Like what was your kind of like reaction, and like what's your thought
Okay,
process
I'll
when
give
you
you, yeah, so basically sometimes there are success stories, and sometimes there are just like you're at least able to manage. For example, econ is a very hard course for me. I don't know why, but I
yeah,
was like,
I'm
okay,
taking econ and it's hard for me as well, so it's not just you.
oh, rip, rip, rip,
Yeah.
rip. Okay,
Okay, go
so
ahead.
basically it's like this. So basically, I remember my first test, I failed, right?
Right.
I failed my first test. However,
Okay.
I was like, I studied so hard for this, and I was like,
Yeah.
and then, but then I was like, okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I was like, okay, be silent for a while. Don't let it get to you, because that's gonna lead you to a rabbit hole that you don't like,
Right.
and it's gonna cost you your time. So I was like,
Okay.
okay. Then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna figure out where I made my mistakes.
Okay.
I'm gonna do better at my studying, and then seeing the test, I have a better idea of what's expected of me. So I try to revamp I sometimes talk to my profs. I talk to my profs about how I got that wrong, and then I try to figure out where these questions were wrong, and
Mm.
then that gives me a style and an idea as to how they kind of make their tests.
Yeah.
So through that, I kind of work my way to revamp how I study.
Yeah.
I try to take more time into this. I try to manage my time and being able to do that. And so in the end, I was able to do better. I was able to do well,
Mm.
um,
That's good.
much better. Like, for example, from a 40 to an 80, though the
Yeah.
midterm I score a 50, but I was like,
Yeah.
this is passing. It's hard, but this is
Right.
passing. Also, I was in summer school, and then and the thing is with economics, so I only wanted to take one, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew it was like a big subject, but I was like, I kind of wanted to take econ, right? But then I was
Right.
and right, but then I was like, just one econ, and I was like, no, you need to take two of them,
Okay. Yeah, because they go both together, the micro
the
and
macro and
macro.
micro,
Yeah.
the macro and micro.
Yeah.
I took them, and took them, and then I was like, and then I was crammed all the way in summer,
Mm.
and then just be surprised I was still able to make time for you guys, because holy cow, that's it.
Yeah,
Actually,
thank you for that, Ed. But so yeah, going back, so you basic I think, let me know if this is how I interpreted what you said is correct. So so you said that like when you're like faced when a time when you don't meet your expectation, you don't like you let it You kind of feel sad for it for a minute, but you don't let it like
Yeah, you
drown
don't let
you.
it get you. Because
Yeah,
I've been through that many times in university.
yeah,
And then I only realized that that won't get you anywhere and you're
yeah,
just bogging time and then you have lots of work to do.
right.
But yeah, like I remember in my early days of university, I had
Yeah,
so much stuff to do
yeah,
that I basically at one time in my life went downstairs and just collapsed myself in the couch for a while because it was so overwhelming and there's just so
right.
much stuff and everyone was sleeping
Yeah,
and it's just like and you're like, is your grades even gonna get any better? But you also just wanna take time off a bit, right?
yeah,
You can start for about a bit and then take some time off just to get your mind,
mm,
rested again. Don't force yourself to when you're
yeah,
burnt out or when you're really sad.
mm,
Wala pa ma! Let's so you it gets really burnt out and then after that I'm just like take a break and
yeah,
then you do it again. But
yeah,
then at the same time you try to improve efficiency, like how can
right.
you reduce your study time, how can you reduce all of this?
Mm,
And this is also coming from a guy who also wants to who doesn't want to give up their hobbies, right? I knew of people who
yeah,
gave up their hobbies because of school and you wanted to maintain your hobbies,
right.
right? You don't want to. I didn't want school to be ahead of me. I had no time to apply for a job, although I did go for it a little bit, right?
Yeah,
But then, yeah, it was so hard for me to get a job until later on
it's
in my
okay.
school years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had lots of things on your plate, so it's
Yeah,
very
I
understandable.
didn't even plan to. I didn't even have. I was like, I ain't gonna apply for a scholarship, and then every
Yeah.
single time I end up doing that, I end up getting bogged down by school. And then
Mm,
the other part was that like, and then the other part was like, oh, I'm gonna commit to this club, and then school comes along and be like, nope, no,
mm.
I've
Okay,
been
yeah,
able to, yeah.
yeah. So like I kind of have like some trouble with this one too. Like sometimes I kind of like compare myself to other people. So like there's this like the idea of like the imposter syndrome. So like I feel like you're familiar with it. And
I've
like
heard of it, but I've never really known it. Is it like
yeah,
technically you kind of envision yourself as someone else, and then you kind of built yourself like that someone else, and then you're like, is that what it is?
it's mostly like let's say oh like Ed is so good at psychology, like, and like I suck at psychology so much. And then like you compare yourself, but like I'm just like you compare your progress to other people. I think that's how I couldn't explain it, sorry, like very clearly.
Okay. The thing is, it's good to compare yourself with high quality people, right?
Yeah,
Like that's how you improve a lot.
that's true. Yeah,
Like for example, in my art, right?
yeah,
In my art, if I ask, the reason why I don't always ask you guys for art advice or don't ask just regular people
yeah.
for art advice, I know you're gonna give me the most lowest of quality, and
Yeah,
and,
because we're
and
not
all the
art
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 things that you
people.
said, and let's say all the art things that you said, whoa, that's good. That's
Yeah,
technically trash to an artist
yeah, because
perspective.
like yeah, we're not like an artist.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
mean, the things
understand.
you think as good that I draw are basically just rubbish or trash to
Okay.
another perspective
Yeah,
because our standards are different. But
yeah.
so that's why I want to that's why it's good to measure yourself with, you know, high quality people because they give you the most potential to learn, right?
Yeah, but it could also become like the inverse of
Yeah,
it. It could be like a very bad thing as well, that you feel
yeah,
really
that's
bad
the
about
thing.
yourself as well.
Yeah, so
Comparing
it
that.
is
Yeah. So
yeah,
what's
so
your thought
that's what
about this one?
yeah, so basically for me, I try to balance it. Sometimes I struggle with this and I try not to let myself get to it.
Yeah, like let's
But
say like in your econ class, everyone in your class is getting really high marks and you
yeah,
getting bad
yeah, that
marks.
you are just like passing.
Yeah. So like
Basically
how do
for me,
you think about this through so it becomes like kind of like help you grow? I don't know.
the thing is when it comes to like it depends. There's some part of it that I even don't know myself, right? And I don't even know how to deal with it. But however, basically when it comes to my hobbies, right? When it comes to my hobbies, I know
Yeah.
that there'll always be those who will learn things faster than me, learn things quicker than me,
Yeah.
know things more than me. But what I basically do is that I just kind of never let it. It's like I want to be surrounded by people who are high standards, right? Who
Right.
know a lot,
Yeah.
right? What do you think? I in part joined the game design club because I like to make games, and then I also like to be surrounded by people who know their stuff well.
Right.
Um, so basically, and then if I want to, let's say for art, I have a Discord area for that one,
Yeah.
the Discord area for that one, and then I had historically I went to Reddit. There's a specific Reddit,
Yeah.
a specific Reddit community, and then yeah. So there are people who that's why I kind of want to mention. However, at the same time, you see how other people could do better than you, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's a weird just. And then another part of me should be like, know who you are, know where you are. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you need to do what's worthwhile to you, what you think is best for you, right?
Yeah.
What you think is better than you, what you think is good for you at the current moment, right?
Yeah. I understand.
And
Yeah, that's
then
a good answer.
right? So it's a weird balance between seeking others for high expectations, but at the same time, don't let those high expectations get the best of you, and just learn to moderate.
Yeah.
Uh, just learn to moderate about where you are and a goal that you want to set in mind. Now, at school, it's very hard because it's very limited amount of opportunity. There's a limited amount of attempts, right? In
Yeah.
like in hobbies and to some extent too in life, you can fail a few times here and there, but you still have many opportunities,
Right.
right, to change and improve,
Yeah.
right? But when it comes to school, it's so hard because you only have this limited amount of tests and quizzes,
Yeah.
and also unlike hobbies, you have
Yeah.
to deal with time. You don't have to deal too much with time constraints. You only do them at your own time,
Yeah.
right? Like some of my drawings that I post on Instagram,
Yeah.
they're only probably like a few hours here, and then maybe like a week or two I can get back to them again because I have time, and
Right.
then I post them. And even though I started on them like months ago, because time constraint, also because around that time I didn't want to, when I do have time to draw, I
Right.
don't always just get to drawing. I just kind of get into the trying to improve uh my knowledge and just
Mm.
do good practice. Now, right, for example, when I see you guys, right, when I see you and you're like, I see you guys and you're like, you have jobs and you have money, and then you have this independence, and then me,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm in university and there's no guarantee that there's a future ahead of me, because there's no guarantee I could apply for a job. And when I do apply for a job, school would always just bog me down. So
Right.
just be so hard. And then sometimes it gets me, right?
Yeah.
You
Don't.
guys are being able to
Honestly,
do
don't.
stocks
Don't.
and all
Don't.
that.
Yeah.
And
Don't
then
let get to you, man.
I know,
Yeah.
and then at one point in my life I became so sad, and I was like, gosh, they there's like uncertainty in me, and then you guys feel like at least you guys can have like there's an idea or a sense, like you don't have the most perfect job, you don't have the jobs that you like, but at least you have this sort of stability,
Mm.
right? And then stability, and then I try to get a job, but every single time it's so hard because school would always just be so much, and then I'd be like not being able to do this, and then sometimes it would just get to me, it just get to me, this sort of sadness and this sort of
Yeah.
uncertainty about my life, and it
Mm.
just, and it's like, and then I remember myself, and it's like, Ed, your friends' lives are different than you, okay? Right?
That's true.
Cyprian is different because he can do the stocks. He had enough money before to be able to do those trading, and he was
Yeah.
able to get the car here and there. Tam is different. They both took a 2-year course, and they didn't have enough time to do like all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then they only took 2-year courses, and you're taking a 5-year course, right? And
Yeah.
then Carl and Joel, they already had a job beforehand, and that was before kind of things was kind of bad, before the economy was really sour.
Yeah.
So You have to realize that your life is different. You
That's
should
true.
assess it. However, I was still like, get in, still have the standards of your friends, right? From crypto, from for crypto investment, gold, whatever, all that stuff, and then just do the best as you can. But being close as your friends, right? You know how you don't have a license, but at least go as close as you can. No one can teach you to drive like your friends,
Right.
right? But at least try to make yourself as close as you can.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I did. I just doing the best as I can. I'm still trying to put myself into whatever you guys are capable of, but at the same time, I'm trying not to be too sad about it.
That
With
just to let you
I
know,
know,
I
I
know
know,
you're
I
doing
know,
your best, and it's good. It's good. It's very good at.
I know, I know. I like
Just keep
I
doing
sometimes
it.
it gets to me, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I try not to let it. It's a
Mm,
difficult thing. It's
right.
like it's like, hey, you don't have a license. Hey, you don't have a license. No, I'm like, yeah, and it just makes me feel
It's
sad.
okay, Ed.
Yeah, I'm trying, but
Yeah. As long
yeah,
as you're trying, that's all that matters.
yeah.
So Ed, so you talk about the guy who kind of, this is what kind of I admire about you, because like you have so much hobbies, and that you still like have like time to do it. Like for me, I'm kind of more like a unidimensional person. So if I have something, and I would just, if I have school, I would just focus with school. So like what's your take on like having hobbies, and like how would you like incorporate it to your life if you wanna to like have more hobbies, like
Oh,
like scheduling or something?
yeah, I schedule.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. There's a difference between theory and practice, right? What you
Okay.
expect and what ends up being.
Right.
So it's very messy at times. It's very messy.
Okay.
So basically, one thing important is management, right?
Yeah.
Management. But let's say even if I complete my my schoolwork in 5 hours,
Right.
to school in 5 hours. Sometimes I don't get, and I was like, okay, now I have time to draw. Sometimes I don't get to it until like an hour or two.
Hmm.
Because it's like, okay, I want to do it now, but I'm like, I don't want to do it right now because I want to do other things because I don't want to deal with work. Because although I do see hobbies as a liking, I also put a lot of energy into them and sometimes stress because you're still trying to learn new things, figure out put a lot of energies to figure out where you went wrong and how you can improve. So that sort of energy sometimes is something the issue with me. Sometimes I'm also very distracted. So although I'm very proactive and although I do like to make good use of my time, I don't like a day where I'm not learning
Yeah.
anything, whether or not it's recreational or academic, right? I also like to learn something new, right? Or
Hmm.
at least do something, or at least
Hmm.
do something every day, right? So what ends up happening sometimes is that although I'm doing all that, sometimes I can get into this sort of sometimes I just like to enjoy the pleasure of times, right? I just want to relax, which
Yeah.
is good, but at the same time excessively bad, especially for me, because you always like to do many things if you were me.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Let's say I feel like this is how I interpret it. It's like, let's say you're kind of like, you find something interesting, like something interesting, and then you get into a rabbit hole, and like you just keep going there, and then you thought
yeah,
about the
never
things
really.
that you actually have to do right now. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
do you think that's correct? That
Yeah.
okay.
Also because there's just sometimes and I just don't want to do it right now. So I thought the plan is
Okay.
okay, after you do this work, 10 minutes break, and then you do the other thing. What ends
Right.
happening is it can take from 10 minutes to 20 minutes. And then when you're supposed to be 20 minutes, you end up, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. So and then sometimes it can be an entire hour or two. Or sometimes
Right.
it can be 10 minutes. It can be 10 minutes. Sometimes
Yeah.
I am able to push myself and be like, sometimes I'm like, in my phone, I'm like, okay, I let it go for a while. And then there are
Mm,
other times that I'm like, no, you need to avoid this. You need to
mm,
get it. And I actually do get into it. Because the moment I get into it, the moment I kind of be able to put myself into it. And I kind of listen to music just to kind of put myself into that sort of mode or sense, right? Because
yeah.
sometimes you just get into that you don't know automatically.
Yeah.
But the moment you try to do the work a little bit enough, and then you try to listen to some music just to keep you in there.
Yeah.
It kind of works for me. So sometimes I still struggle with this issue,
Yeah.
but that's how I usually kind of do with it. Is
Mm.
that yeah? So, and at the same time, if I don't get everything done or what I want to get done, which
Mm.
is almost all the time,
Yeah.
I'm at because time is always there. Sometimes you lose yourself. Sometimes schoolwork takes a bit longer.
Right.
Sometimes you want to spend, and the moment you get into your other things like hobbies or job, you feel like you end up doing a little bit more. Uh, so yeah,
Mm.
so I don't always get everything done in everything that I want in a day. However, I don't want to beat myself up too much. Though I've always wished I had more time.
Mm.
The thing with me is that you always feel like you never have enough time, and I think that's like a dilemma of the modern world. But
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I usually try to do my best as I can and try to be as efficient as I can.
Mm.
Although I fail at it at times, but I usually try to improve my efficiency.
Mm.
The best that I am is at Lent, but because of what I want to give up to sacrifice, and usually I'm the most productive there. But
Wait, can you repeat
overall,
that? Wait, what did you said?
huh?
What did you said that part? Something with the sacrifice. Can
Oh
you?
yeah, I it was usually I'm the most productive at Lent. I get more stuff done because of what I sacrifice, or what
Oh.
I try to abstain or have more regulation on.
Mm.
And because of what I try to abstain and regulate, I get more stuff done.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
yeah, but anyway, sometimes I fail, right? But I do my best. It's all about managing,
Right.
finding a way to put yourself into that gear,
Yeah.
right? So if let's say you have a lot of work, schoolwork, right? You want to
Yeah.
approximate how much of that time you're going to be doing the schoolwork,
Yeah.
and then how much of time you're going to be able to do other things. That's
Mm.
one thing, right?
Yeah.
Second, Second, at the same time, you want to focus on what's important and what's not so important, right?
Right.
First is school, right? Job is great, but job is something you can't always do, right? And
Right.
you're a university student and you have to prioritize yourself, right? If you have
Right.
all the time in the world, you'll be able to do your school, your hobbies, and also being able to apply countless amount of resumes and such,
Right.
all in that one day. But time is finite,
Yeah.
and you always have something to learn, and then trying to get into certain things are daunting.
Yeah.
The third thing is sometimes when you're trying to learn something, when you're trying to, let's say you did schoolwork, right? You want to
What?
take a break because you want to rest your brain, you want to rest
Right.
yourself, and you want to get into other things like your hobbies.
Yeah.
The thing is, or you want to even like trying to do something as small as like my banking,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you just don't want to deal with it. Like the moment you get into it, you're gonna be hooked. Like even if like I had this thing, right? Like I know if I get into the coding, I'll be hooked immediately.
Yeah.
I mean very quickly, not immediate.
Yeah.
However, it's just trying to get your mind into it,
Yeah.
right? Just trying to get your mind into it. So
Mm.
what I do is that sometimes I don't know how to deal with this either, but
Mm.
sometimes I'm just able to cut myself off at a specific time, and
Mm.
then when I'm already there, the moment I the moment that kind of gets me into it is like I listen to a little bit of music while I'm in my seat,
Yeah.
and then I'm doing just slowly by slowly, and eventually I just kind of fix myself over there.
Mm. So yeah, like you kind of like slowly transition to
Yeah,
the
the thing
next.
is, I study myself. I
Yeah.
study myself, and
Right.
then like, because I study myself. I think very deeply about, and I'm very aware about like what I'm feeling right now, what I am. So I am very aware as to like what I need to do or what I need to perform.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't always have an answer, but at least
Yeah.
being able to become very knowledgeable about
Yeah.
your strengths, your weakness, what would make you focus on this more, what would gear you to that one.
Yeah.
I'm very self-aware as to
Mm.
myself. Even like when I'm in my emotions, right? I'm very
Mm.
self-aware. Even
Mm.
when I was in high school, I'm aware that my emotions can different emotions at different times can make an impact on how I'm thinking at the moment. I
Yeah.
was very aware of that, and then like I didn't need and there were like some things already in psychology that were discussed that I knew beforehand. Um, that I knew beforehand because I'm just very self-aware of myself, very thinking about like myself, but what I need to do, what I need to improve.
Yeah, being self-aware is very, very good, Ed. Yeah. So
Yeah,
Ed, so let's talk about like, let's say sometimes, like when you're doing an activity that you really love, and then sometimes you get into a sense of flow, or like you're in the zone in doing it, so you didn't notice the time that you're doing it. But then you said to me before that sometimes you, when you're trying to do something, you want to kind of schedule it. But let's say like the time that you were doing the activity exceeds the one that you planned.
yeah,
do
that
you do
happens
yeah
all the time.
do you still say that it's worth it, to that it have gone past what you set it out to be? Do you think
Yeah,
it's
that's
still
the
worth it?
thing.
Do you still,
That's the
it's like
thing.
worth it for you that happened?
It really depends, right? It
Okay.
really depends
Yeah.
because if it's important schoolwork,
Yeah.
then because again, my schedules, my checklists, they're never perfect. They're just rough ideas because I know
Right.
that it take a bit longer in one and less in the other.
Yeah.
Sometimes I try to be very rigid and strict, and sometimes I'm just being more loose, right?
Right.
Like just like if. So for example, if it's schoolwork that exceeded, then I'm fine. If it's hobbies,
Yeah.
then I should stop.
Hmm. So it's
And if I do
all dependent
continue,
in your like priority, I think.
yeah, it's school, and then jobs or hobbies are very mixed, but I always tend to kind of want to enjoy myself a bit more, so I go with hobbies and then
Hmm.
jobs after. But sometimes jobs then schools,
Hmm.
though. Sometimes I want to do hobbies and jobs because I just feel like I wanted to have that sort of other growth.
Hmm. So Ed, how do you think like hobby is like helping you become more like to have more success in your other facets of life? Like how does it do that? Like,
What do you mean? Because everyone gets into hobbies differently.
yeah.
For example, also
Like how
cooking,
did
right?
the, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Because like cooking is like one thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's cooking is good for being able to help being able to cook someone being independent
Right.
because your parents can always feed you and it's not
Yeah.
very financially wise to
Yeah.
always buy from Tim Hortons every day. So
Yeah.
you got to learn to cook, but at the same time it's also just because I enjoy it. And although
Mm.
there are some things that I've learned from my hobbies which can
Yeah.
be applied in my life
Yeah.
in general, but how I kind of maneuver certain things, like how
Yeah.
I should be learning
Yeah.
and how I should look myself. At the same time, um, many times it's just like for my hobbies and interests. However, there are some things like programming, I mean, game developing
Yeah.
and art that maybe I was planning to be um, maybe an entrepreneur a bit, or just
Mm.
at least some self entrepreneurship, just minimum.
Mm.
Focus on being employed, but maybe try being self-employed when
Mm.
just so that you're not gonna because there's uncertainty with me of even being able to get a job. So
Mm.
I was like, well, I do like games and I do like art. So maybe if I could put this into entrepreneurship or
Mm.
some hope, some sense of maybe selling something, then maybe.
So Ed,
Yeah.
with like let's say do you think like, because like sometimes I think of hobbies kind of like a time to like enjoy yourself or like relax. Do you think like this enjoyment or like relaxation, does it actually help you with, let's say, like your productivity in school or at work? Like does it actually like help you produce better results and maybe like at school or at work?
I don't really know.
Yeah.
You see, when it comes to art,
Yeah.
most of the time there's there's more productivity than there
Yeah.
is always relaxation.
Mm.
Like for when I'm doing hobbies, there's more productivity than there's relaxation. That's why there's more hesitancy for me, and there's more withdrawal for me to get into those stuff, just like school.
Yeah.
That's why that's also challenging me to just hop on it immediately, because I know it's gonna take time and energy for me, and sometimes stress
Right.
to learn here and there.
Yeah.
So so yeah. Then the other thing was but I don't know, maybe it does, because at the same time, doing hobbies and having schoolwork, it kind of makes me make good use of my time, and being able to have a lot of things to do, being
Yeah.
able to always have a lot of things to do, and always try to have this constant learning mindset,
Yeah.
and expanding yourself to new things. Maybe it is developing me. Maybe all these interests and hobbies for me are
Mm.
developing me in certain ways that I may have never known before,
Mm.
right? Because I wanted to do an art,
Yeah.
so but I but then I kind of became more productive. So I had to improve my productivity. I had to
Mm.
improve my productivity. I had to be better at time management. So
Right.
me and then I had to better plan myself. I had to prioritize, because I'm not always going to be able to do art, and yet at the same time you want to maintain art, right? You
Right.
don't want to lose it through. You don't want the skill to deteriorate in your brain or
Yeah.
Matthew effects. So at the same time, so maybe it has helped me in certain
Mm.
ways that I've never known. For example, I attend clubs, right? It gave me experiences, but at the same time, what did that cost me? Being able to stay home early, so getting away from my comfort zone, um, right? In being able for these hours,
Yeah.
embracing embarrassment at times, which is something that was an awkwardness,
Mm.
um, leadership skills. So maybe all these hobbies, all these skills, maybe it helped me in certain ways that I'd never known before. But
Mm.
as so like time management, assessing my skills, assessing myself, when I need to learn, when I need to grow. So who knows?
Yeah. I like that you're like super self-aware. That's very good. I admire that. So yeah, Ed, let's talk about like creativity. Um, what does creativity like? What does it play in your life or like in the society? Like, what's like its benefit? Do you think the creativity,
To me, or to a society in
or
general?
like both? Like can explain for yourself first and then for the society after.
Creativity is a very vast, abstract thing, but I guess for me personally, it helps me better give me different ideas as to how I can negotiate things, better idea as to how I should organize myself politically and ideologically. For example, I took a vast array of courses in politics, in economics, in sociology, and that kind of broadens how I should approach my stances and things.
Yeah.
Exposure yourself to new different ideas, different structures kind of helps that as well. Um, Overall, it gives me better ideas as to how I could maneuver certain things, how I could build certain things, how I could write. Because I know, right? I don't know yet that reason why I got into game development and art, and I continue these things, is because in case if I can't get a job as of right now, I could work on potentially entrepreneurship, right? So if I
Yeah.
want to write a story, or if I want to draw, or if I want to make a game, at least some ideas here and there. As a society as a whole, there are several different things. Everything that I have said, plus new ideas, new entrepreneurship ideas, new strategies, diverse amount of choices, blah blah blah. So there's several different things if you want creativity as a society. It could be community building. Creativity can provide community building. Um, it can provide economic growth. It can provide new ideas for entrepreneurship. Many different things you could do with creativity.
So yeah, basically, I feel like the creativity. It's like the thing on the frontier. Like it helps. Let's say the society grow bigger. I think I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah. So it's like it expands. like different, I don't know, with the ideas. It helps it
Yeah, it is
expand.
different.
Yeah, I don't know, but that was sorry, and I'm not very
Yeah,
good at like articulating my ideas. So it's very nice to like talk with you and other people. So
yeah,
I could help.
if you wanna improve ideas,
Yeah,
right? One thing for me, I remember I was like, what do I draw?
yeah.
And then what do I draw? And then I asked someone at Discord for that one. And then what they said was that at the art section, and what they said was that there's no one way really doing it. You just have to find references and get inspiration from there. And what sometimes you can do if you're having an idea is that you have an idea or concept and you break them down and you combine them with other things.
Mm,
For me, I do photography. So let's say me and my parents go camping.
right.
Sometimes I would picture certain things for references and ideas. Sometimes I would picture Kensington, which is a great place for me to a great Kensington and downtown, which are great places, I
Yeah.
think. Um, Other things is like certain things I see on TV, certain images. Sometimes I would just take them, picture them, so I can reference them in the future for future ideas and
Mm,
concepts. So yeah, usually they're art related, but not
mm.
necessarily always.
That's good.
It's
So
just taking place.
yeah, so Ed, so I feel like let's let's try to tie this in. Let's say when you're like writing an essay, like how do you like what's your thought process when you're like writing an essay?
First,
Because
I
I
want to
feel
know
like
what.
with psychology, you're like super good with essay now. With a
No, being a
psychology,
psychology is different from writing an essay.
really?
It's like trying to say, it's like trying to say that It's like trying to say you're into programming and you can hack into the government, or
Okay.
saying a psychologist is always interacting with people, or saying that being a nurse graduate, you always know how to operate in a hospital. Just because you're in the degree doesn't mean there aren't those nitty bitty grades. Then
Okay. But
there isn't.
you're gonna say like in general, you have to write papers in psychology. That's true, right?
um, because writing papers in psychology is different from, let's say, writing papers in English art. It's very
Really?
different
It's
from
very
writing
different.
papers in
Oh, I
English.
didn't know that.
It's very
Can you
different.
explain like how they're different?
They're different is that first, although language and grammar is important, they're not so important in, not as heavily important in um,
Psychology.
psychology. You can use, it's good to use some, higher level academic words, but never that much as we had, but never that much pressure as we had to in high school. Like
Mm.
you're better off with maybe a few very highly specialized
Hmm.
words here
Interesting.
there than you are here.
Mm.
However, at the same time, you also, unlike essays in the high school
Yeah.
in ELA,
Yeah.
here you have to be concerned about the method, build your abstract. Um, you have to build your abstract, try to understand what the overall message is, and unlike the English, you kind of have to structure your essay in a specific way that certain things have to be there. Like let's say you're writing a results section, you have
Okay.
to display. So um so what we found is that this amount of people have higher amounts of this, and then you would demonstrate specifically as to what that is.
Hmm. So
Then
I feel like it kind of sounds like more kind of like a scientific paper. I don't know.
it is more ish like a scientific-ish paper.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
there's less emphasis on metaphors and more straight to the point.
Right.
So I'm guessing for you, I
Hmm.
think you'll like working with these papers better than English.
Really? I don't
Um,
know. Maybe I like English better. Ed. You never. I don't know.
okay,
Even
yeah.
I'm not that self-aware.
Yeah. Do you do writing as of right now? I don't know.
No, not
I
at
know
all,
I'm a
man.
200 level psychology course. I never did any paper writing until like in my second year, 300 courses.
Interesting. That's interesting to know. I didn't know that there's like that difference with just like what I think about like in the high school compared to like what you do in the psychology.
Yeah, I mean
degree.
there are some similarities for
Yeah.
sure. Like, you know, something that can grab people a bit. You know, I feel like that's not so very emphasized, but not so very important. But
Mm,
something that can grab people a bit. It's more straight to the point, if
mm,
anything. But
interesting.
but still very specific, right? It's very
Mm,
specific. Okay,
mm,
so when you're trying to lay out your like how you're supposed to conduct
yeah.
something, you have to be very specific as to what these sort of variables are and what your explanation as to why they are, which I
Mm,
think is also very similar to English, but I think slightly different
mm.
in essence, but
Yeah, I felt
similar.
that like um how do I say it? Because I feel like sometimes in English it's more kind of like I don't know, like your own interpretation or like something related to like an interpretation.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
in like
technically,
psychology, I don't know. Sorry.
you're still making assumptions, right? For
Right,
example, when you're working like when you're working with certain assessment tests, right?
right.
And let's say someone is scoring high here,
Yeah,
it's still making assumptions that may
yeah,
not always be correct either.
right. Yeah.
And then sometimes one assessment works well at one dimension, but not on other dimensions.
Hmm.
So sometimes the validity of certain assessments are not always correct, and then sometimes, I mean, you're technically assessing like, and technically, if let's say there's an assessment on happiness, right?
Right.
The answer would be what would make happiness, right?
Hmm.
I know sometimes the abstract sort of idea is like you want to make an assessment uh, that tries to measure depression. Well, the idea is what is depression, right?
Yeah.
Some would be like certain mood swings, unable to do this.
Hmm.
But then another person who's more into the biological, and we try to assess the blood levels or the
Chemical.
hormone or
Yeah.
the cortisol levels
Right.
in your bloodstream. So there's different means as to what assessment is.
Hmm.
So even till then, as to what something is based upon the assessment, so it
Hmm.
still is like
Yeah. It
it's
just
still
sounds
that's a
more scientific, I think. Yeah.
yeah, I guess. But there's
So
still assumptions as to what something is. Yeah.
right. Yeah, there's still like your view on what the thing is. All
Yeah.
right, Ed. So yeah, Ed, I have a question for you. Do you meditate or like do you do some praying from time to time? Is that like a part of your life?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
For meditating, for praying, it's usually after around certain times, like I eat, sleep. But then meditating is basically just if usually school or academic or just work based,
Yeah.
really. So basically, if it's something stress in my life or whatever it is, I just kind of do a quick meditating and keep going.
So like what does meditating do to you?
Oh, just to kind of flush out some of the unnecessary information. Also, when I'm burnt out, gives me a small rebreather and kind of clears the mind slowly.
Hmm.
It's like your mind is built up with certain things and having it to just relax for a bit and put all these others out aside is good. Also, when I'm trying to sleep.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like because sometimes your like mind started racing through different
Yeah,
things. And wait, so like would you say like meditating, I don't know, I don't know what meditating means. Is it like emptying your mind or like
it's like clearing your.
reflecting on something? What is it?
I'm pretty sure meditating has a different one based upon whether or not you're doing it in a religious one or a secular sort of perspective.
Okay.
But however, or a way, but I'm pretty sure in general, meditation is just a means of clearing your mind.
Okay. Mm.
It's like to kind of regulate everything.
Yeah, because so like if you're like kind of like overthinking something and just like meditation is kind of like clearing those away. Is that right? Or
This way and giving yourself a better sense of being able to properly put them together. Kunyara
Mm.
pa, istorya pa ko pa.
Thank you, Ed. So Ed, like so what do you think about like reflection as well? Like that's different than meditation, right? Like reflection.
Reflection is like you kind of look upon yourself about all your stuff, right? I do
Right.
this all the time.
Mm. Is
How do you think
there
I'm able to assess myself? How do you
right?
think I was able to better know myself? I do
Yeah.
reflection all the time.
Yeah, that makes
In
sense.
academics to just my entire life in
Yeah.
general, where I'm doing things, blah blah blah, all that stuff.
So
Reflection
yeah.
is everywhere.
Do you do reflections at night, Ed?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
mainly around in the I tend to
Anytime.
reflect myself a lot around in the mornings or in the
Hmm.
afternoons because usually I'm doing stuff from there and doing work from there.
Hmm.
Sometimes I even self-reflect on myself because I end up realizing many times that I don't always fill in my checklist, right? My
Right.
checklist.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, sometimes I reflect myself at night and then I would make a new checklist
Yeah.
for an expectation as to how I might go with it.
Hmm. So does it happen to you that if you like kind of reflect at night that you have a hard time sleeping sometimes, or
No,
that
not
doesn't
really.
happen? No. Wow, that's interesting, Ed. Because usually if I try to like reflect on something, sometimes that would just go for hours. And then sometimes I have a hard time sleeping.
Oh,
And that's
what I did is that when I'm having like issues with that, I just make a checklist on it. And, okay, do this tomorrow, and then I'm
okay.
able to just put it outside. If I
Yeah.
don't, if I
Okay.
don't,
Yeah.
I immediately feel harder time sleeping
Yeah.
because I feel like I'm trying to put that in my head. I have to do that tomorrow, or I have to deal with this,
Oh,
and then sometimes I end up just feeling that I might forget it the next day. So I'll just kind of write it down.
that's a good
And
advice, Ed. I probably should do that. Just like write it down and just let it
yeah, and
aside.
just leave it for tomorrow and leave it
Yeah.
for tomorrow.
Mm,
Sometimes at night I would have an idea, so okay, how am I gonna solve
mm,
this issue?
right.
Okay, do this, and then
Mm,
you deal with that, and then you
mm,
deal with it the next day, right? You don't worry about it. And then sometimes when your brain does kind of still want to think about it, you do some meditations, breathe out, and you do
yeah.
that until your mind is clear, and then you just stick with that. And it's like a
Okay.
practice because it takes time for your. It's not gonna be something direct. Like for me, it
Yeah.
was
It's
never
not instant. Yeah.
not instant. It took
Yeah.
time. It took
Yeah.
time for sure. But
Mm,
if you can do it well, you can put it aside, write it down, make
mm,
a strategy how you're gonna deal with it,
mm,
and then leave it the next day. And then sometimes it's good to be able to do that because you can wake up earlier with a better energy, so you can
mm.
tackle whatever you need to do.
That's good, Ed. So, Ed, do you have like a good, like every day, that do you always get like a good amount of sleep? Is that something
Every
that,
day.
yeah? How much sleep do you get?
Sometimes five, but mainly I just keep around the minimum of 7 in average.
Okay. So, like, do you, is that like a priority in your life, sleep, or not so
Yeah,
much?
sleep is priority because sleep is priority. It's good for your brain and your
Right.
memory and your processing. That's why I
Mm,
try. And
yeah.
always and many times a day I'm trying to learn different things and
Mm,
memorize different things in school and hobbies,
yeah.
blah blah blah. So I try to and also I don't function very well. Also I am very terrible at waking up. So
So that's
uh
good. It's
that's
as
and
good and bad.
I try about waking up and I want to wake up early because I always want to do something else.
Right. But
There's
like,
always
yeah, but like you said, like sleep helps with your kind of like with your memory, like
yes, and
thinking from,
process.
yeah. So do you always sleep at the same time? Like you go to bed at the same time? Is that like a
Here's
thing?
the thing. I tried to sleep around before 2, but I ended up sleeping around 2. I'm
And that's
still
too late,
trying. I'm
man.
still trying.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Still trying to figure out a way how I could do
Yeah.
that. Because sometimes it's school, sometimes I finish early, but then I'm just so tired because of
Right.
school. I just wanted to stay up longer.
Hmm. Yeah. It's sometimes it's hard to have
Because
a
I want
set
to,
schedule.
yeah, because sometimes it's the thing, right? Sometimes school makes you step longer than 1, and
Yeah.
then sometimes it's longer than 1 p.m. And then sometimes you do so much school around like 12 already, and you finish at 12 and you're so tired, you
Yeah.
just want to binge yourself a bit with some relaxation. And then I ended
Yeah.
up going,
Right. So yeah. Ed, so maybe I think we have like very like good conversation already. So I think it's a good time to like end it now. So like my last question for you, Ed. So like what's your like general philosophy in life? Like what do you always try to um tell yourself? Like what's your like kind of like I don't know what to say, but like a goal or maybe like what's you're pursuing? What are you pursuing in
oh,
general terms?
I don't really like to disclose that. That's personal. However, I
Yeah,
will say that it's something to do with just trying to make good use of myself in the world, in the community.
yeah.
That's in part, not entirely, but that's in part why I volunteer, because I like to make a contribution.
So yeah, Ed, yeah, that like it's a good thing that you mentioned about like volunteering because like yeah, like sometimes it's hard like even for me because like it's hard for me kind of like to volunteer because like if you look at it at like an economic perspective, like I'd
Yeah.
rather get paid than volunteer. But I see like the value of volunteering, like you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart. And I feel like that would
I mean, also, and I think the main reason was because I kind of wanted to build skills, right, which is in high school. Like,
yeah,
but at the same time, around the time, I was also like, I kind of wanted to contribute to the community, rather than just sit. That's why, in
yeah.
part, just the why sometimes I talk to homeless people, with
That's good
sometimes
then.
just to see, like, their conditions, how they are. Um, it's interesting hearing some of
Yeah.
their stories. So,
That's good at that's good for you. You're like a good role model to lots of people out there. So yeah, thank you for joining me in this podcast. It's a pleasure. Hopefully we'll be able to do this sometime again.
okay, take
All right,
care.
Ed. Thank you, Ed. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.